Okay, so I'm standing in our laydown yard, which is basically just where we store all of our materials. And in this video, I'm going to talk about why they're important and why I should have done it when I first got here, and all of the money and time that I've wasted by not having it. So one of the funny things with buying a farm is that they become shit magnets, and they just attract stuff from everywhere. All of a sudden, everybody has something that they can give to your farm. It's crazy. I didn't expect this. And shit's a bit of a strong word. It's not that none of this is garbage or anything like that. It's all useful materials. But you need somewhere to put it all. And so I'm super grateful for all the materials that have been donated to our property, because we're going to use every single one of them. But for a while there, when I first got started, we were just literally stockpiling them in our home yard, which is only a couple of acres. It sounds like a ton of land, but you see how much material we have here. It starts getting in the way. And in fact, the first thing that I should have bought before I even got this yard was a set of forks for my tractor. Forks and forklifts are absolute godsends when it comes to material management. Farming and permaculture, especially on this scale, is really all about material handling. And the faster you can kind of wrap your head around that, the happier you're going to be. I can't count the number of times that Ben and Mitch and myself and Michelle have moved wood piles 3 and 4 times. All the times I've had to move these pallets around, and before we even had a forklift, we were doing it all by hand or with the side-by-side or with little tiny trailers. And it gets really tiring. Because every time you want to do something, you're tripping over 5 other things. And so this yard is our knockdown yard, or our laydown yard, and it doesn't look super pretty, but it does exactly what it needs to do, which is essentially provide us with space to organize our materials, and make sure that when we're moving around on the farm with the tractor, that we're not running over the materials constantly. We're really lucky to live in this beautiful landscape with lots of hills and topography, and it's absolutely gorgeous, and I love the topography here. But one of the challenges that you're faced with when you end up on a property with topography is there's not a lot of flat spaces to lay things down. And so we just recently, this summer, decided to spend a couple of $1,000 on earth moving, and actually create a relatively flat pad. And so it's easy to traverse this with the tractor. We have 2 access points now. We can come in here, move stuff around, and it's not constricting like it was when we were in our yard. Another kind of really important factor to think about is that these tractors are big, they're noisy, they sometimes have limited visibility when you're on them. And so another reason to build one of these things is for safety. It's really easy when you've got kids to run over one of them, and luckily we haven't done that yet. But when you're constantly moving materials around because you're in a really tight and constricted area, it's actually really dangerous. And so the safety level of the farm has actually gone up dramatically now that we have this here. And I know that everybody's mental well-being has improved because I'm not getting people to move piles over and over and over again. So I highly recommend when you get your property, even if it's an urban property, actually, you should have an area like a boneyard, a place where you can put stuff. But especially when you get onto a farm, you need a place to organize materials, and you need to be absolutely diligent about getting rid of stuff that you don't need. Like, there are things in here that we probably will have to get rid of. The risk of having a really big yard to store things is that you end up becoming a giant junk collector as well. And that is clearly a problem on a lot of farms in our province, is that people endlessly collect things thinking they're going to use them and they never do. So there's definitely a balance with all of that stuff. But what makes our farm, or where we are right now in the construction of our farm, is we need these materials. We need to be able to have cost-effective materials to be able to build all the projects that we want to build. And so this made a ton of sense. Now, eventually we may change the location of this yard to another part of the property. In building this, I actually had a couple of insights. We may put a Manitoba barn over there, and then this might actually in the future become an animal corral. It's really quite a useful space. It has access to all the different fields on the property, so it's kind of central. And so we'll see how it morphs, but in the interim, it's going to be our material storage management system. So don't be scared to build one for yourself. You'll thank me down the road when you've got a really big place to be able to organize all your materials. Okay guys, see you in the next video. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below.